Okay, I can confirm we're now live.
Thank you, Emma. Welcome everyone to tonight's Environment and Communities Review Panel looking into food waste into flats and HMOs. We will start on the agenda with item 1, that is apologies for absence. Do we have any, please, Emma?
I've had apologies from Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Boyle and Councillor Ray Mossam as advised who will be attending late.
Okay, and I bring apologies from Councillor Gabby Kennedy.
Chair, may I bring apologies from Mary Temperton too, please?
Lovely, thank you, Tricia.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2 is declarations of interest. I'm not going to read it all out. I think members are very familiar with that declaration. So we will move on to item 3. And before I start item 3, I'd like to propose a motion, and that motion is that there may be financial information affecting business affairs of any particular person, which includes a local authority holding that information. And this is under section 100A of the Local Government Act of 1972. And the category that relates to this is section 12A of that act. So I'd like to propose that we go to this. Can I have a second, please?
Seconded, Chairman. Councillor Angel.
Thank you, Councillor Angel. Is everybody in agreement, please?
Yes.
Yeah, Councillor Michael Brossard, yes.
Thank you. Okay. So pursuant to section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, as amended, and having regard to the public interest, members of the public and press be excluded from the meeting for the consideration of the following item, which involves the likely disclosure of exempt information under following category of section 12A of that act. And that is information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding the information. Therefore, all the press and public will be exempt from the next agenda item, but we welcome you back when we get on to item 4.
Okay, so we're back to being live.
Thank you, Emma. Welcome back. And we're now going to go on to agenda item 4, which is to discuss our recent site visits to 3 various blocks of flats and our findings. Actually, 4 of the 5 councillors online were actually present. So it's just sort of an update for the rest of the members that couldn't make the rest of tonight. So Emma, if you'd like to just show us this first slide. So the first flats we visited was a block that contains 25 flats. Hopefully we will see an image of it shortly.
Yeah, bear with me 1 second.
Thank you. So rather than me doing all the talking, I'm quite happy for Councillor Brossard, if you'd like to give us your take on what we found at the first block of flats.
Thank you for that, Chairman. In fact, let me put the video on. I think it really, what it reflects the bad, the good and the bad. That I thought that was extraordinary, actually. The poor lighting, okay, you can see the lighting there in the background, but the fact that also I took photographs with one of the blue containers said cardboard only, and there was no cardboard in it. It was all material that had been dumped in. You can also see the Amazon packages that in the background. The problem is, I think the management of the flat has been negligent in terms of actually requiring people to actually recycle correctly. Chairman, I thought what we saw was very, very good as an example of a lack of commitment by residents in actually having a commitment to recycling. We will see later on another photograph that shows much better those people who actually committed to it. Chairman, all I can say, I thought what we saw on that Monday morning was a disgrace. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I think we should not we should refrain from actually naming the premises where we visited, please. I know you didn't, but if we can just not mention it. And you can obviously see in the picture on the left-hand side a big blue dumpy bin for recycling, which was actually filled with general household waste, which would mean that our crew would not empty that, and that would be then down to the management company to get that emptied by their own private contractor. So that would actually add costs to that block of flats' actual ground rents. As you say, it was very poorly lit, lots of rubbish on the floor, poorly maintained, very poor lighting, and the doors were not actually locked. They were freely opened. So, Bob, would you like to put your comment so that people know, and Sandra, obviously, that it wasn't present?
Well, thank you, John. I think impressions were it smelt. The door was open, although it had some sort of locking system on it. It wasn't. Fire risk, I thought, quite dangerous, and nothing to add what's been said other than, of course, if you start to put more bins in there wasn't much more room to put many more bins and expect people to use them. Very poor turnout.
Yeah. And Tricia, would you add anything at all?
I think I would only say that with the poor lighting, it's unlikely the residents will be trying to get their stuff into the bins if there's a gloomy afternoon and certainly dark evening. So it doesn't encourage people to recycle, and that's a huge factor, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Emma, if you'd like to go on to picture 2, please. Okay, so Tricia, I'm going to go in reverse order. So Tricia, if you'd like to give us your observations on this block of flats, please.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously, personal involvement, their own individual bins, and of course that's much easier to deal with. People take more responsibility for their own rubbish and recycling. And obviously it works quite well. It looks all neat and tidy, clean and so on. So really good.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, there are a number of similar flats in this road. In my opinion, this would be an easy one to accommodate. You can see quite clearly the difference. Look at the cleanliness, look at the way it's presented. People care much more, and I think it would almost, although they're flats, it would almost be a curbside collection. It's housing.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. My observation was there was 4 flats in that block, but there was 5 blue recycling bins. That meant one flat actually did generate more recycling, but they were quite happy to have a second one to ensure that they were doing the right thing. Now, as you say, Bob, I think for them to have 4 individual food waste caddies would be very easy for us to accommodate that. And I think we would get very good recycling rates from them. Michael, and then I'll go to you, Sandra, if you have a question.
Thank you, Chairman. All I would actually say is that I think that is a very, very good example of commitment of the modus operandi of how people can actually engage in terms of the recycling, the food waste. Sorry, not the food waste, but the green bins and such like. I think that was well chosen as an example of those residents who actually commit to the philosophy of actually recycling. So I think they're a very good example. Thank you for that, Chairman.
Thank you, Michael. Sandra, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I was going to ask if they actually have a bin store, or are the bins out like that all the time?
The bins are out there like that all the time.
Oh, okay.
They don't actually have a bin store. Okay. Picture 3, please, Emma. and we have Councillor Angel in the picture. This was from a sheltered housing. There was, I think on one, there was 9 blue bins and 5 general waste bins on one half of the premises, and on the other they had a separate one, which again had, I think it was 7 general waste and 6 recycling. From under where the bins are, you will see that one light, but there was actually 2 lights, and there was lighting between where the bins are stored and the exit door. And you can actually see a trolley in the picture whereby residents can actually take the trolley up to their flat and bring all their recycling down. So it made it a lot easier for the residents to carry the relevant bags. When we open up the bins, the blue bins, the cardboard have been flattened, the bottles have been squashed, and the blue bins were very full of recycling. And the general waste bins were actually all lined with their rubbish. So again, example of committed recycling for those residents. Michael, do you have anything to add?
Well, no, only Chairman to say, very, very impressed by the commitment that the residents have. I think in part it's probably due to, it's an age consideration. I think those people, if I understand correctly, Chairman, were over 55, and maybe they have a different philosophy in terms of actually segregating the waste. But the fact that there's a wash facility, the lighting, I have to say, was exceptional. And this, right, I have to say, Chairman, I think that is what we should have as a process whereby future flats or should actually have that criteria. It was a very high standard. I'm pleased we went there because I think it demonstrates what residents can do if they're committed to it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Tricia, anything to add, please?
Yeah, just one thing that was very important, I thought, is that the top bits there between the roof and the wall, there's no windows, so there's plenty of airflow, so they don't get smelly in there. It's really good.
Thank you. And before I come to you, Sandra, just ask Bob to add to the comments, please.
Thanks, John. Well, the reason I'm looking so closely at that bin is that the signage that tells you what you should be putting in there is quite different to what we have on our website as to what goes in a blue bin. And I checked it when I came home. Interesting. The other point I would make, of course, in this particular location, there was management actually living on site, which may have been an additional help to others who use the bins. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Sandra.
Thank you, Chair. Question, was the bin area lockable? Did it have doors? And could I just ask, no doors, so anybody could go in and use those bins? And why the red bins? Are they the equivalent of our green bins, or were they for...
No, the red bins are general waste bins, and the reason they're red is so that residents that lived close by couldn't take them and have a second bin.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So we can identify that comes from a block of flats. And even though there was no on there was no rubbish on the floor. As if you refer to picture 1, you saw a lot of rubbish on the floor. On both stores, there was not one single piece of rubbish on the floor. There was not even a box that hadn't been flattened. So all the cardboard had been flattened that went into the recycling bin. I'm going to ask Damien to come in on a comment that Bob made. Damien, would you know why those bins have a different sticker, or is it an old sticker that hasn't been updated for the residents?
I suspect it's probably an old sticker, Chairman, but I'd have to investigate. It may be, I mean, those bins look like they've been there for a while, but certainly the stickers look well worn in that middle picture. I'd have to check, Chair, and come back to you.
If you want, I can email Claire. I can email Claire and ask her the question. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
And then obviously Claire or Donna will be able to take that up and obviously get the residents totally up to date with what else they can recycle.
If I may, I think those stickers on there were not Bracknell Forest stickers, they were Suarez stickers.
Suez, okay.
Suez, yeah.
You know, that may be the difference.
Okay, cheers, Bob. Okay, any other questions or observations from the three pictures? Right, Damien, I'm going to put you on the spot again. Out of those three, and there's only one right answer, what ones would you think would give us the best recycling rates that would be, hopefully, we'd be able to take on quite quickly? And which one or ones wouldn't give us the desired recycling rate?
Do I win any money, Chair? Is this a bet?
No. No.
Pictures 2 and 3, I think would they look like ideal candidates. So picture 2, obviously, as you talked about, it looks like a curbside collection, really, doesn't it? Additional individual food caddies, pretty much like a household. You'd have your silver indoor caddy and then your larger outdoor caddy, which we could pick up on a weekly basis. That looks relatively straightforward. And clearly the residents there are keen recyclers. They've already got an additional recycling bin, as you mentioned, and the area is neat and tidy, and it looks well looked after. So that's very positive. Picture 3 looks like I could probably eat my dinner off the floor of that bin store. It's immaculate.
I wouldn't go that far.
But again, subject to space and availability of space in that bin store. Obviously, I haven't seen it, so I'm assuming that there would be space in there for an additional bin, a larger bin, probably a 240 bin with an aperture, maybe even 2 of them, depending on how many flats are in that block. But yeah, both pictures 2 and 3 look like they're ideal candidates, Chair.
I personally think that if we went for picture 3, you'd probably be able to do away with a waste bin to give you the actual space you would need. So, I mean, when we looked in the general waste bin, there was quite a bit of food waste in there, but it was what I classify as genuine food waste, which is like peelings, etc., or bones or tea bags, etc. So there wasn't excessive waste of food. It was normal generated food waste.
Yeah, that would certainly help. Thank you.
Other people want to comment on what they found in the red bins on picture 3? Michael?
The break in the transmission. The question, sorry, can you repeat the question, Chairman?
I said that it would be quite easy to remove one of the red bins, the general waste bins, I believe, to facilitate a waste bin. And I found that the waste in those bins for the food waste was what I classify as genuine waste, which was just peelings, and there wasn't actually any surplus food that had been discarded.
Chairman, the only point I'd make is that I think we should consult with the residents to actually get their support for it, rather than provide a fait accompli. I think communication is important to actually get resident participation, which has been very evident in the discussions that we had before. So I would hope that if the residents agreed collectively on more than, say, 50%, then yes, we should go ahead. But to consult with the residents to get their support for that, Chairman.
Oh no, I meant that we would consult, but it would be very easy to find space in those 2 locations.
Yeah, I agree. That was I think Claire provided really what I can say is a model example of commitment by residents. That really has to be a sort of an exemplar of how residents should participate in waste collection.
Okay, thank you. Tricia, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought, I don't know at what point in the recycling or the rubbish collection phase, we were looking in those bins and how full they might get, and is there a danger that we could take away a bin that's absolutely needed. So we need to, that's another reason we need to consult with the residents, because they will know how full they get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. So I think that's including item 4. So we will now go on to item 5, which is feedback from an email we sent to, I believe, Reading Borough Council, with some questions for them.
Yeah, let me just bring it up, Chair. Bear with me one second.
Thank you, Emma.
Okay, so this is their response. Oh.
Okay. So have members seen this response?
Yeah, Michael Brossard, yes, thank you, Chairman.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chairman.
Okay. Is there any thing that stands out that maybe Damien could take on board, or maybe be able to answer if there's any queries there? I think if you can just stop there, the question is, did Flats HMOs receive food waste collection at the same time as households? And it says some low-level flats and all HMOs received it in phase 1 of the rollout. So I'm assuming that meant the high-rise flats didn't.
Chair, just interesting that the food waste yields are higher than anticipated.
Yeah.
Chairman, can I just comment on that?
Yeah, go on, Damien.
I wasn't sure whether that term, when they said it was higher than anticipated, whether that was across the whole scheme or whether that was purely to do with the flats. It didn't make it clearer in the response. I know Reading have been very successful in terms of their food waste rollout, but I didn't know whether that particular comment was for flats or the whole scheme.
Yeah.
Chairman, if I might add, their expectation may have been quite low in the first place.
It might have been, Bob. I think where we go to what are the levels of contamination, it basically clearly states there that obviously in households it's fairly low because every household is accountable, but higher in communal properties. So that is something that I think we're going to be fully aware of. Okay, and then we've got, are there any lessons learned? And again, it relates to our review. In some flats, it was difficult to implement as we didn't know the managing agent. So although the residents were aware, there may be a chance that we were unable to notify the managing agents. So that's where we go to all about communication, which is what our previous colleagues have been telling us all the time. It's all about communication and getting those managing agents on board. Any comments on those two bits? So I can't see hands at the moment because I've just got the document up. So I can't. So if you want to speak, just please quickly speak.
Michael's got his hand up, Chair.
Okay, Michael.
Oh, only ready to steal your thunder, Chairman. the communication, I think, is essential. We are very, very good at actually communicating with our residents, and where we've got a positive message to give, I think we should provide that. The other thing also that you mentioned, Chairman, is the managing agent. I find it remarkable that we can't actually know who manages a block of flats, and that's something that Reading had identified. I rather hope that Damien can actually identify and communicate back through us that we do have a mechanism for deciding who owns what, because certainly when you saw the photograph, I think what we saw in the initial photograph, I think that was Thames Housing, and clearly we can actually engage. Sorry?
Please don't say.
Oh, right. Okay. There was a housing agent that we did identify. And I think the important is to go back to them and to engage with them and to understand, for them to understand the benefit of actually communicating with the community. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Damien, can you come back on that if possible? Would there be a possibility that we wouldn't know who the managing agents are? Or do we know most managing agents of all our flats?
We know most of them, Chairman. I obviously can't comment on what Reading have sent us, but we have relationships with as many of them as we can in order to help manage the waste streams coming out of those residents. So yes, we have relationships with most of them.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, please? Okay, Emma, if you'd just like to scroll up a little bit more, please. Or are we at the bottom? No. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I think that was it. If you want to just scroll up to near the end of the letter, it just says what equipment they provide. Okay. Yeah. So we provided, I believe, a roll of 50 or 52 liners, and they supplied a roll of 100 liners. Is that correct, Damien?
Yes, our role for the households was 50. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fine. And Emma, if you just want to scroll up to the last section, please. No, sorry, down then. Sorry, down. I mean, my up, your down.
Sorry.
Okay. So is there any questions regarding this?
Can I
Tricia, yeah, I can see everyone now. Sorry.
thank you. It's obviously important for them to roll out the flats slowly so that they can support residents that are swapping over and so on. They've got to get that sort of thing in place, and it's obviously important because otherwise they don't understand what's happening in some cases. So residents do need that support, I believe.
Yeah, and we've also got to bear in mind that Reading is a university place, so I think it's a city. Might be a town, but it's certainly got a university, so that would have quite a few HMOs probably. And again, students coming and going. So again, communication is vital for them. Any other questions, please? Okay, no other questions. So it just leaves us to advise that the date of the next meeting is next Thursday, the 3rd of June. And hopefully you've all got your invites for that. Bob.
John, it was just a thought that it's really a question, and I've tried to write it down. Damon, is there any evidence that food waste reduces because of awareness of how much residents put into their caddies? because it strikes me. I got my little silver caddy on the side when I'm cooking, but I'm becoming more and more aware of what I'm chucking in it. And therefore, do I need to buy so much? And why have I got so much waste? And I'm just leads me to think, over a period of time, people who've been doing this for a long while, is there any signs that awareness becomes a reduction in food waste?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, it's a really good question, Bob. And it's one of the reasons why we've slightly reduced our anticipated numbers. So I think I said that we were at 2.8 kilograms per household per week, and we've based our new truck requirements on 2.5, so it gives us that leeway. So one of the things that collection of food waste does is it immediately shows you what you're throwing away, which was perhaps more hidden before when you had combined food and refuse in one bin. So far, though, with residents of Bracknell Forest, we've not seen a decline in the weight since we started collection, but it's still quite early days. So yes, there is likely to be some kind of reduction, but we're not entirely sure how much that's going to be.
Bob, do you want to come back at all?
No, it's just an interest, and it's just my own personal thoughts and awareness, and just I don't know who's been doing food waste the longest. Do we know of an authority that's been perhaps doing it for a couple of years or something, and there is some evidence?
Yeah, I can find out some whether there's a sort of industry statistic to see what percentage we might drop by over a period of 12 months after implementation, for example. RAP would probably be the right organisation to provide that kind of number, but I can certainly ask them to see whether they've got statistics or not.
I'm happy to ask that question of RAP.
Oh, okay, thanks, Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
Thanks.
Okay, I mean, I don't know about you, Bob, but I find that my food waste is getting quite full, but it's basically from peelings. So, and I'd rather put peelings in the recycling bin than our general waste bin.
Yeah, I'm just becoming more and more aware of what I'm putting in there.
Yeah. But it's amazing how quickly your carrot and your potatoes and your bins add up.
Yeah, and stuffed donuts that have gone dry.
Okay, any other questions, please? Okay, I see no hands up. So again, I'd like to thank everyone, especially Damien, for your time tonight, Damien, and everybody else, and Emma.
Thank you, Chair.
Again, thank you. And I look forward to seeing everybody next week for our, I think, regular meeting where we're going to start discussing some of the recommendations we'd like to put forward in our report. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy